Hey folks, welcome back to My Kitten Reads. I'm Eleanor and this is my February wrap-up. Despite February being a short month, I read 12 things, mostly ebooks. I've been doing a lot of reading at the gym, but also some binging, which also required ebooks because I wanted the next book right now. So, yeah, I'm quite pleased with my month's reading. I've been reading really well recently. So, what did I read? I started by finishing Competence by Gail Carriger, which is the third of the Custard Protocol books in her Parasol verse, which ticks off, trying to finish series because the Custard Protocol specific series is on my list. It's also very queer. This one's very queer because it focuses on Rue's friend, Primrose? I can't believe I've forgotten already. But one of the Tunstall twins, who is sort of fighting her attraction to the werelioness. So it's a very queer focused story. Then I read A Dead Djinn in Cairo by Djeli Clarke, which ticks off reading authors of colour. This is the prequel short story to the novella I read last year, The Haunting of Tramcar 015. And so it's set in this alternate version of Egypt, where and it's about the investigation into some magical happenings by this woman who's investigating and ends up discovering a bit of a conspiracy and saving the world. So yay! So that's a short story. So that was fun. There's supposed to be a novel, I think, coming in this series, which I really, really want to read. I really like this universe. I really do. Then I went back to Gail Carriger and reread How to Marry a Werewolf, which is a het romance about Major Channing of the Phil Channings and the American he ends up falling in love with. And I love that story so much. I think it's one of her best novellas in the Parasolverse. Like, I absolutely love it. It's great. And then I read Reticence, which is the fourth and final Custard Protocol book by Gail Carriger, which is about Percy. And I'm ticking that one off as queer as well because, again, it's got the spotted custard crew, multiple of whom are queer, even if this one's about Percy Tunstall, and he's not queer, but I guess you might say he's a bit neurodiverse, to be honest, which is not queerness, but it's still a diverse book. So there's still a lot of lesbian relationship and stuff in it, but Percy is a very interesting character. Very interesting character, and there's a new lady doctor, and I love it. It was fun. It went to Japan. It was a whole bunch of fun, and they were wrapping up a whole lot of little loose ends going way back to the Finishing School series and all that kind of thing. So yeah, that finished. I finished the Parasol project. Really pleased with that. So tick off a complete series for the Custard Protocol. But I found I couldn't quite abandon the Parasolverse just yet. I was so in the mood after reading all of three of them all in a row. And so I went back and reread Defy and Defend, which was the novella that I read for the first time last year, about the vampire hive that's going gothic. And Dimity has to fix everything. So, I had to go back and reread that just to ease myself out of the Parasolverse. Following that, one of my few hard copy books, and on a very different subject, I read Living on Stolen Land by Ambelin Kwaymullina. Ambelin, you've heard me talk about before. She's an Indigenous Australian woman from Western Australia. This is a book of prose poetry. I did a full review, babble thing video about this book last month, so it'll be, if you go back a bit on my profile, it will be there. Thoroughly recommend, if you want to know more about it, go and watch that other video. Then I got very excited because the new Eleanor West's Home for Wayward Children novella came out by McGuire, Across the Green Grass Fields. So it arrived on my doorstep. I read it straight away. I absolutely love it. This is a standalone. It does not have any characters from the previous books. It has a new character, and it is about her adventures in the Hooflands. It is also a queer character book because in this case it's gender diverse, because it's all about femininity and how femininity is perceived and constructed, and how essentially the main character, and you don't find out this straight away, but essentially she eventually finds out before she goes away to the Hooflands that she was born intersex. So her puberty is not going to be like other girls, and this is a problem for her because of the friends that she's made. And of course she ends up running off into going through a door, and it's all about horses. It's all about horse girls. So all the kind of horse and hoofed mythical creatures you can think of are pretty much in this book, and it's about finding your own destiny, being who you want to be. You're finding your own identity, and the fact that you don't have to submit to destiny, essentially. So, but this girl is she's going to end up at Eleanor West's. I just know it. Because she really wants to go back to the Hooflands. But yes, so that was a fun book. I really, really enjoyed it. Then I went on a bit of a Jane Austen Pride and Prejudice variation binge, but I read new authors. Oh my God, yes, I did actually read new authors. So I read Far From the Tree by Jeannie Peneaux. I have a funny feeling I might have come across this one when it was still like on a fan fiction site. But I don't think I ever read the full thing. But it's a what if when Lizzie went to Kent, it was discovered that she was the long-lost second daughter of Lady Catherine, who Sir Lewis had ordered killed and had been rescued by the nanny and sent to an orphanage. So how would that change things when she's actually Fitzwilliam Darcy's cousin? So I read that. Then I read Determination by C.P. Odom. Yes, C.P. Odom, which is actually more from Colonel Fitzwilliam's perspective, and has Colonel Fitzwilliam as a suitor for Jane's hand. He meets Jane before she and Bingley meet again, essentially. And Colonel Fitzwilliam is quite determined that he will prove himself as worthy of Jane's hand. And so you've also got Lizzie and Darcy having to, figure themselves out as usual. But it's very much more from Colonel Fitzwilliam's perspective. So that was quite interesting. And then I read Elizabeth Bennet and A Serious Proposal by J.P. Christy. In this one, Mr. Bennet is the one who's constantly trying to marry off his daughters, and is not doing so in a way that is palatable to them. But Mrs. Bennet actually thoroughly supports her daughters, and they have this secret little library, and they keep reading feminist literature that they steal when Mr. Bennet tries to throw it on the fire. And so the Bennet sisters are all very, 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 very close, and sort of working against their father as he tries to marry them off to people that they don't want to marry. So that's fun and shenanigans. Then I did reread Chaos Comes to Kent by Jann Rowland, in which Lady Catherine is a much nicer person, and she, how do I put this? Instead of Mr. Collins coming to visit Longbourn, that gets put off, and then the Bennets go and visit Mr. Collins. And Lady Catherine takes the Bennet girls under her wing, and is actually a fan of the idea of Darcy marrying Lizzie and Colonel Fitzwilliam marrying Jane, and so she meddles a little bit, and things go a bit differently, obviously. And then the final thing that I reread in February was A Trifle Dead by Livia Day, which of course is the Hobart set cookery themed murder mystery that my friend Tansy writes under her pseudonym, Livia. I was rereading that at the gym, so I finished that, which I hadn't read in a while, and I'm going to continue rereading the series at the gym. So those were the 12 books that I read in February. I am doing really well this year. I am like 3 books ahead of schedule. I am actually kind of reading things that are appropriate to my various goals. So fingers crossed it keeps going. I have just started my English class for the semester. So things might get a little bit different because we're looking at sort of medieval and early literature from England. So this week I have been reading Anglo-Saxon poetry. But yes, so yeah, so that might slow me down a bit, but I am still doing lots of running at the gym, so that might keep me on track. So probably a lot more ebooks in my future. But yeah, if you've read any of those books, happy to discuss them down below in the comments, and I will see you all again really soon. Bye.